Don't actually put that in the podcast. No, don't, please don't. My mom listens to the intros. She would listen to the starts of podcasts until we started talking about video games, and then she would be like, "Cool, done." Hey, welcome to Front Seat Gamer episode 49. I'm Nick. I'm here with Saveun.
Hey, Nick.
And Blake.
What's up?
How's it going, guys? How's it going, Saveun, specifically?
It's going well, Nick.
Let's get you started.
It's a good day.
It is? It's pretty good out.
That is
so, good thing we're cooped up in Blake's apartment.
Yep.
Talking into microphones. How you going, Blake?
I'm going good.
Yep. Okay, good.
We're all good. How you going,
That's been
Nick?
Front Seat Gamer.
How you going, Nick?
I'm all right.
Yeah.
So episode 50 is going to be pretty good.
Yeah,
Yep.
ramping up.
Should we do anything special for episode 50?
We can talk about it post episode 49.
Yeah.
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 If you think we should do something special for episode 50, tweet at us at FrontSeatCast. What have you guys been playing? Because I've been playing Hearthstone a little bit with the expansion and coming up only a couple weeks away. And I played through a game called Samorost 3, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You guys been playing anything good?
Good.
You guys been playing anything in general?
No, I've been playing Elder Scrolls Online.
Mm-hmm.
And much to Saveun's shock, I've been enjoying it.
Yep. So, what's your opinion on MMOs in general?
They don't look very good.
They don't look very good. So the issue is graphics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very much so.
If there was a gorgeous looking MMO, it was just like photorealistic. But the only thing you could do,
The Division.
the only thing you could do was talk to people. Would you play it?
You're thinking of walking outside and just talking to people? Photoreal.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
Or
I do that all
basically-
the time.
It's basically Second Life. You can talk to people, and also there's
But you can be dressed as a sexy fox.
you can be-
Yeah.
and there's just floating dongs in the
Yeah,
background,
yeah.
Jeez.
flying around.
I
Did you
would
ever
not-
see that?
No.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen that, but I mean, I know Second Life is full of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Floating
There is a-
dongs.
Yeah.
it's
Just-
very.
People make money off it too.
Yeah, not long ago, I feel like it was a news like channel or something did an online interview
Oh boy.
that was broadcast on Second Life. Like they interviewed one of these like Second Life real estate moguls,
Right.
and someone made a thing in Second Life that was like a polygonal penis.
Yep.
That would self-replicate.
Oh my god.
And so, and then, like, they got it in the background of the interview, and then it just like all these like virtual dongs just started like flooding the camera in the middle of the interview. And you can still find that somewhere online.
Yeah, I don't know. Second Life is amazing, but I don't want to go and look
I
at
tried it one time.
Yeah?
I did not have a good.
It doesn't. It also like you. I mean, you say Elder Scrolls Online looks pretty rubbish, dude. Second Life looks
Oh, yeah, but that was
rubbish.
20 years ago or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Wasn't it a long time ago?
It was
10 or 15 at this point, I think.
Yeah,
It's still going though.
yeah.
Still got a
Yeah.
very dedicated community of perverts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a weird game. It's one of those games where like, it's hard to find the game.
It's not a game. I thought it was just basically a chat room.
It sort of is, but I mean, there's like this economy aspect to it, and when there's an economy, there are
Yeah.
winners and losers, really.
Oh,
Right?
sure. But there's no like. I mean, you're not going out doing. It's not like World of Warcraft, like MMO.
No,
you're not doing quests
questing.
or stuff. You're just like you can buy stuff.
Yep.
And you can have like a plot of land, and you can have
Yep.
your own, I guess, world or
Yeah.
something.
I mean, you could probably make games, and I'm sure people have done this. You can probably make games within Second Life that people can play.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's just like a virtual world, I guess,
Yeah.
more than anything else. But it's an economy-driven virtual world, so it's interesting.
Yeah, it's a real
it's-
weird thing.
There's also like, have you guys heard of like Project Entropia, or I guess it's called Entropia
I don't
Universe
think
now?
so.
No?
No.
Okay, this is an actual MMO game from like early 2000s, where you would buy I think it was free to play, but you had to pay money to get access to certain tools. And you could use those tools to like mine for resources or kill monsters or whatever and collect resources. And those resources could be sold to other players for this currency, which could then be cashed out.
Right. So
That's cool.
for
So
real money.
bots just
Yeah.
flooded that thing?
I don't think so, because you had to be kind of smart about how you did stuff.
Okay.
It wasn't just like, I mean, you couldn't, for example, generally it's lossy. Like if it costs $5 to repair your hammer, on average, you're going to get like $4 worth of value out of using that hammer. But sometimes if you're lucky, you might get $10 and then suddenly you're profitable. And so there are people, and then you can also like buy, in the same way that Second Life has these like real estate moguls, you could buy worlds in that game and people would pay fees to use those worlds in an attempt to make more money. But it was the landowners that made the most money in those games. So Entropia Universe is an interesting game.
Where is that game now?
It's still around.
Okay.
They did some real weird stuff. They had, I think, a place called Planet Michael Jackson,
Ooh.
which was like a whole Michael Jackson theme.
Never World.
Yeah, pretty much. And they had like a space station that they sold for like $1 million. Something like that.
Jeez.
Yeah. Small like hedge funds and stuff
Yeah.
would buy these things just because like they have billions of dollars to play around with, and this is like a small investment that could pay off well.
Dude, we should get into like making art for it.
Oh, you reckon?
Because, dude, it's just polygons. Like,
Yeah.
it's not even good looking.
Well, I don't even know. It's not even like the art that matters, right? It's the economy behind the art.
oh, sure.
in that
But,
game.
I mean, if you can make a space station for, in like, I don't know, less than a day and then sell it, you somehow get part of that, like, $1 million that it was sold for. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't fully know like what you could do on that space station that made it worthwhile. I don't know. It's a hard one to really investigate as well, because to get to the point where these things matter to you, you will probably have to have invested quite a lot of money.
Yeah, it feels like you have to live. Like, that is your second life. Like, you're living and working.
Or your job, basically.
Yeah, your job. That becomes your job. Man, talking about MMOs, I can't remember if we talked about it on the podcast. Did you see there was it was in the news like maybe a few months ago, but this Twitch streamer was doing a tour of abandoned MMOs.
Ooh.
And I don't know what MMO it was, but he was walking around and there was like no one there, and he was just like looking at the stuff and being like, oh yeah. And it's like late 90s kind of graphics, so it's real chunky and blocky and gross.
Yep.
And it looked like one of those, it looked a little bit like a Second Life type thing where there were NPCs and stuff, but I don't know if they were like giving you quests or there was no like storyline or anything like that. It's just this weird world that heaps of people inhabited at one point and made stuff in and he was just walking around looking at stuff, and he encountered what he thought was an NPC, and after a while of talking to them, he realized it was a player.
Yep. Jeez.
And it was like the guy was like basically role playing, and like they were
Wow.
talking in this like orc camp, and he's like, we have to be quiet because we don't want to like
You don't want to alert the orcs
alert
or whatever.
the orcs or something like
Yeah.
that. And and then he said something. He said somewhere in the conversation he said the streamer's name. And it freaked him out, and that's when he realized like this guy is not an NPC,
Right.
and he started saying like, you need to leave now, this place is mine, I can be the only one here or something, and started like chasing him around, and then he ran off for a while, and then the streamer followed him, and then they had another interaction, and the dude turned into a werewolf and just started like
What?
freaking him out.
Are you sure this wasn't a fever dream?
No,
you
this
had?
was an actual real thing, and it was in the news about it, and it was like,
It was in the news?
yeah, I mean, my news, gamer news.
Right, your fever dream news. The news you see when you close your eyes.
Yeah, when I woke up, I was like, werewolf.
If you could track this
Yeah,
down.
I'll post it on.
I'd be
I'll
fascinated
post
to
it on the
see this.
Facebook. I'm sure I might have already done that ages back, but I can't remember. I might have just posted it on my own Facebook. But
Yeah,
it was fascinating because, like, you see the guy, the streamer, like slowly realize that this is not an NPC. This is a real player.
Another player.
Yeah, and just started freaking out.
Wow.
Because the
That's cool.
guy was like saying, I can be the only one here. this world is mine kind of thing. And
Right.
yeah, it's just been real weird.
Jeez. I wonder what game that was.
Yeah, I don't know what game
who
it
even
was.
runs that?
Oh, actually the in the news articles where they were saying that they talked to the devs about it, and they said there are like a really small group of they called them old timers who played it in the 90s, I guess, and are probably like I don't know 40 or something now,
Yep.
who occasionally will go back in for special events,
Right.
or
Yep.
like their birthdays or
Is it still
whatever.
profitable to keep that running?
I don't
though?
think it is, but I think it's the cost of keeping it running is so small that it doesn't really matter.
Right.
Because there's like compared to
There.
like I would not be surprised if the cost of running our servers and stuff, because there's so much more going on.
Yeah.
Compared to a game that was made in the 90s,
Yeah.
keeping that running on a server is probably just is nothing. It's going to be a
Cents,
fraction of a normal game now.
Yeah. There's an MMO that this sort of made me think of, which I played for about a day. It's it's an interesting game. I should recheck it out. I think it's called Love.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Have I mentioned this before?
I've seen it. Not for a long time though.
Yeah, that's a strange one.
Yeah.
It's
That's super weird.
it looks so like unlike any other game.
Yeah.
It looks like a painting basically.
Mhm.
It's all 3D, but
Cell shaded.
no,
No?
it's like they've got I don't know, like they've got like a post processing thing that makes it look
Yeah.
like a painting. Like so you're running past, but the things you're running past look like brushstrokes,
Yeah, it's really.
and you can shape the land and like create structures. And I
From-
remember I
from-
stumbled across some other players who were making something.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Wow.
This was a couple years ago. I think it had only come out a year or two before that.
It has from what I saw, it has this weird dreamlike quality. Like
Yes.
it's like when you try to remember a dream, it's sort of fuzzy and
Yeah.
and that seems to be what the game is like.
You'd be surprised at how many like very, very, very niche MMOs are out there. That's one of them. There's another one called, I think it's called Project Salem, or maybe it's just called Salem,
Right.
which is a sort of, I guess, like a survival MMO where it takes place in like the 1600s of U.S. Of like
US of A.
Salem, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
They're in the witch trials and stuff. And
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
you're a witch.
and you
then-
can try and convince people that other players are witches.
Oh shit.
Oh,
and-
very cool.
But then like if you take any act, like if you kill a player, you've just broken the law and everyone can turn on
Oh
you.
wow. Is that are those rules like set by the game, or is that just what players have decided?
I'm not sure.
Like, are there NPCs that will then, like, when you kill a player, are you then flagged as an enemy, and NPC guards will come?
No,
at
I
you?
don't. I don't think it's NPC guard driven. Like I
Right.
think it's more a case of like you've killed a player, so now like you being killed isn't a punishable crime,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Right.
Something more along those lines. I don't know 100% though. I actually it's just all made by one dude as well.
wow.
So there's like these one man show MMOs that are
Yeah.
out there. I met him like years and years ago. It was
What's the art style?
um
Well, is it 3D?
it is 3D. You know Don't Starve?
Yep.
It's quite similar to that.
Okay.
In terms of like it's sort of like flat and isometrically angled, but
Something a little bit easier for a one-man person.
yeah,
to put
yeah,
together.
quite simple looking.
Yeah.
And he made a game that had a similar premise. It's all permadeath as well. So if your character dies,
Oh
that's
man.
it. There was another game he made. I don't remember the name of it, but it was 2D and had a very, very similar premise of like there are limited resources in the world. It's permanent death, and you have to like be eating regularly and all sorts of stuff.
That sounds like a game you'd hate, because you were talking about
Ugh.
how you hate being told what to do in games.
Yeah.
You
This is
like
why-
the option of picking berries, but you
Yep.
don't want the game to tell you have to pick berries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about this with Ryan.
Yeah,
Um,
it was funny. Brian basically said that you articulated something that he didn't even know that he felt about like games.
Yeah,
Like he had
he-
the same feeling, but it wasn't like at a conscious level.
Right. Yeah. I made him realize what he felt subconsciously.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. I also told him that you awoken something in him.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's a different story. That's a story for another time. That's a different podcast altogether.
Talking about weird MMOs. I remember there was an MMO called The Forest. I think it was called
This
The
sounds
Forest. Oh no,
familiar.
Endless Forest.
Oh,
Have you heard about?
oh
that?
yeah, with the deer faces.
Yeah.
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 I played that game.
And you're just a
I
bunch of
played.
deer.
I played a lot of that.
Really?
Yeah. It's weird.
You're
That's
just a bunch of deer walking around.
You are a deer until you get your human face. You're like a fawn until you
what?
until you grow up into like a full. That game's really weird. Because you have to. I think you have to be playing regularly for a certain period of time before you qualify to become the adult
And
deer.
what do you do?
Deer things.
So you really do just walk
just
around,
fawning
like,
around.
That's it.
You could there's like
fawning
it's,
around.
it's all like gesture
Right.
based. So like you find other deer players and you can gesture to them. And I feel like there are certain activities that can result in like special secret.
I feel like
stuff.
this is a game for children who
It's not.
who are like your parents are like, you can go on the internet and you can play an MMO, but we don't want you actually talking to anyone.
Right.
But you can be a deer and gesture to these strangers.
It's definitely there's like I think I would be very surprised if it wasn't a primarily adult, primarily furry driven community.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I bet it would have started off as like maybe aiming towards a more family friendly thing, but
I don't
the
think it
furries
is.
just came.
This is the same. This is a development studio that makes just very strange art games.
Right.
Like, they have one called I think it was called the Graveyard or the Walk or something like that.
with a granny.
Yes.
Yeah, I played that.
Yeah.
Well, I've played that
Yeah.
in air quotes because you just walk down a path
And then
sit on a bench, don't you? And that's
yeah,
it.
pretty much. It's all the same studio. It's all like weird artsy
Yeah.
European games. Which I actually really like that there's these people doing these because it's like
Yeah.
it's you sometimes you have an experience you weren't expecting.
Well, actually, so I can't remember with that graveyard one. Was there actually like because like Dear Esther, you can say you're just walking around, but you got like audio stuff. You got like
Yeah.
you got like some kind of like little story that's evolving. When I played that graveyard one, I don't remember anything happening. I remember you
I
just
feel like there was a version you could buy where there was some stuff that happens, but I don't.
Oh, DLC.
DLC.
Yeah.
Yep.
Screw that.
Buy this and something will happen.
EA again?
Yeah.
No, I don't know. But yeah, same studio.
Wow. That's yep. Okay.
There was another one it reminded me of, but I can't think of it now. Anyway,
We just talking
Warcraft.
about bad MMO.
yeah, there's this game called World of Warcraft.
World of
Real
Warcraft.
weird.
World of Tanks.
Yeah, that's a weird MMO.
That is a
right?
that is a weird one.
It's not really an MMO, I guess. It's more like a Counter-Strike game than anything
Yeah.
else. It's just got some.
But
persistence.
don't you have perma like something?
There's you've got
Like
like
you-
your
you-
tank
yeah.
inventory and stuff.
You carry it over? I don't know. I actually don't know.
It's you build up your garage of tanks basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been playing Elder Scrolls Online, and yeah, I've been enjoying it, and so the thing is, I was on the fence of this game for such a long time because I've heard that it's not that good.
Oh, who would have said that?
Yeah, dude, I don't know, but you're not the only one that has said that. Like quite a lot of people have said. I've had friends that bought it when it first came out and they played it for a little while and then they're like, go back to WoW. I think it's pretty safe to say that WoW is probably like the best sort of MMO.
Yeah.
It's
got legs, man.
it does. Yeah, I mean, it's still a great game.
Yeah.
But now it's at this point, it's like what do you need in an MMO? Because if you're expecting like just tons of content,
Yeah.
like EverQuest, the first EverQuest has crazy amounts of content. If you're expecting like a beautiful, full-fledged, detailed world, like World of Warcraft's probably one of the better ones in terms of world detail, but it's also like Elder Scrolls looks fantastic in terms of the world detail.
Yep.
If
It
you're
certainly
if
does.
you're looking for great combat, like World of Warcraft's got sort of basic stuff. It's more like World of Warcraft has become the standard by which MMOs are judged, but it's just I don't know if I would call it the best anymore.
Well, it's getting record numbers again.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Legion has like boosted it past like. Well, this is just what I heard from one of my mates that is playing it. He reckons it's boosted past like whatever the height was last time, like
It was
12 million.
It was
or
14 million at one point, I think.
something. Really? Maybe that's it.
I would be very surprised if it's still.
Well, that's the thing. Like
I
every
looked this up.
every expansion, they have a huge increase.
Yeah,
and then it dies back. But from what I've heard, is that this new expansion of
Legion.
yeah, is really like holding people. Like the drop off is not as high. But the thing
crazy.
is, this is just what I've heard from people who are still playing it. So maybe it's just their point of view is like, yeah, I'm still playing it. So the drop off, no one's dropping off.
I haven't dropped off, therefore nobody's dropped off.
Yeah.
I mean, Daniel at work is playing it, I think. I
Right.
saw him
Yeah. But yeah, so the thing is like, I got tired of World of Warcraft ages ago.
Yeah.
And even though like everyone keeps saying Legion is the best, I'm not interested in it anymore. I kind of want something new. And I've always gone around to like some of the free to play MMOs and I tried them out. But as soon as like, you get to as soon as it becomes clear that it's kill 5 rats, collect 5 whatevers, like that sort of turns me off. And Star Wars Old Republic, I was really excited for. That went free to play, so I started playing that, and very quickly it was exactly the same. Like collect 5 holotrons, collect,
in terms of actual gameplay.
Yeah.
It's
like
very
it
similar.
had the awesome BioWare story stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't enough of a wrapper around that core collect 5 bear paws.
Right.
Right. And for some reason in Elder Scrolls, I haven't had that feeling yet, and I've been playing it for like. I played it for the full weekend when it was free, and then played it for a few days this week after I bought it. Yeah, and like the quests feel much more like an Elder Scrolls quest, with like stuff that you go into a dungeon, and there's like some sort of story in that dungeon. It's not like go into this dungeon, kill 8 bandits. Oh, you've done that. Killed 10 skeleton guys. Oh, you done that. Oh, you completed the dungeon. Fight the boss. Oh, you completed the dungeon. There's actual like story stuff happening, and like quests will like have several different parts, and some of it is collect stuff, but it's I don't know. It's somehow wrapped in a better storytelling thing.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm really kind of enjoying that.
Well, I mean, the Elder Scrolls structure for content has gotten very good. Like in Skyrim, if you compare Skyrim to Morrowind, in Morrowind, there are a lot of dungeons around the world.
Yeah,
and you go in there, and there might be some bandits if it's like a cave, or if it's like a tomb, there's going to be skeletons.
Yeah,
and with some demons or something. Or you go into a Daedric ruin, and you know there's going to be Daedra inside. You have some expectation of what you're going to find inside. You might occasionally find like a scroll on the ground that gives some context for that.
Right.
Like, the good thing we're hiding from the local authority down here in this bandit cave, but most of the time it's just like a random encounter.
Yeah, there's nothing. No, there's no environmental storytelling in Morrowind.
Yeah. Where you skip ahead to Skyrim, and it's like every dungeon has its own story to tell, which is like a really clever way to structure the content. And I assume this is what they've sort of adopted for Elder Scrolls Online, where it's like every area you go to has its own little tale to tell.
And it's told, it's told in a way that whereas like World of Warcraft would have an interesting story for an area, but it would still boil down to there's a field of guys, go kill 10 of them, come back to me, and then I'll tell you to kill 10 more of something else.
Right.
And then the area might change, and you've liberated whatever.
Right.
But the core of like the quest objectives are still that same.
Yeah. Which I think like you can do something. You can have a very similar gameplay pattern, but frame it in a different way. For example, instead of kill 10 guys in this area, it's go into this area and get this thing. Like there are these guys, they're summoning a demon. Stop them from summoning the demon.
Yeah. It's
and there just happens to be the 10 guys there summoning.
It's just like I think with Elder Scrolls, it's just better. Those quests are just better wrapped in actual, some kind of narrative that's happening. There was the area that we just ran through. Well, because I showed these guys before, and there were those ghost guys that had become neutral to me.
Yep.
When I first walked up to that area, those guys were hostile, and I thought, oh, here we go. This is where it's going to be. Kill 10 ghosts.
Right.
Kill, whatever. But it wasn't. It was still it was like I had to go out there and activate some amulet on one ghost, and then had an option to activate this other amulet on another ghost, and then I got like 2 options of how I wanted to deal with these 2 ghosts.
Interesting.
And it still ended up in the same thing, but it got there differently. And I still like killed ghosts throughout the thing, but like killing a certain number of ghosts was not the main goal.
Right. And also the fact that now they're neutral is very fascinating, because it's now like you've made a permanent change to the world.
Yeah, to me anyway.
From your character's perspective, which is something that Elder Scrolls games are about. They're about like world permanence. You know, you take an apple from that table, that apple is in your inventory. That person doesn't have that apple anymore.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm liking it that way. I mean, it's not. Maybe they will reach a point where I just see it all exposed and like I can't. Oh, another fucking amulet and another fucking ghost. All right.
Yep.
There's it's. I mean, when you look at that game, it looks like an MMO.
Yeah, it totally looks like an MMO.
Characters' movements and stuff are all not the same as an Elder Scrolls game. You know, Elder Scrolls games have never been about awesome animations or whatever. But like in this, it really does look like, okay, we have to make this as broadly build uponable as possible. Like we have to be able to continually add content to this. So it does look like someone's made an Elder Scrolls MMO framework, and here's the Elder Scrolls MMO. Yeah,
it does seem a little bit like that, and they're using they're not using their Gamebryo engine or their whatever the hell other thing. They're using something. Actually, they might be using something of their Gamebryo engine. They're using something called the Hero engine. Which I don't know what that is, but some sort of MMO engine.
Sounds cool though.
Yeah.
It's got the word hero in it.
Some kind of MMO engine, but
Are you enjoying it? Are you enjoying the game?
I am, and I guess the thing is that I think the reason I'm enjoying it is because it's Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
Like if this was, some I don't know, Korean MMO or something, just some nameless MMO, then I'd probably be not playing it anymore because I don't recognize the world. I'm not invested in it already. You know, there's a lot of fantasy worlds out there that I'm into. I don't have time to be getting into a whole new one. You know, I like that I can just automatically know what the hell they're talking about when they're talking about, Akatosh and the 9 gods and stuff like that. I'm like, oh yeah, I know what these guys are talking about because I've been playing Elder Scrolls games for like 10 years.
Right.
And that was like a thing for World of Warcraft, right? Like
Yeah, you were familiar enough with it that
like,
when you started playing through it, you had context for the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, some Black Desert game or whatever that I'm like, this is a completely new thing and I have to start from absolute scratch.
Yeah. When you're playing it, do you feel... So, one of the great things about World of Warcraft, that game is structured to be very sticky. Like, although there's a lot of, like, kill 10 of these guys quests, the fact that all the quests are sort of incremental. You can see your progress.
Yep.
You know how close or how far away you are to completing it. And then you get a reward at the end, and it feels good. Does it... When you're playing the Elder Scrolls, for example, you start playing at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Do you look at the clock and now it's 3 a.m? Or is it like, I'll play for this for an hour and then that's enough time and I'm going to go do something else?
I kind of do.
You do what though?
No, I mean, I kind of lose track of time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because the first day I played, I was like, oh yeah, I'll just check this out, and then 6 hours went by.
Wow.
And I was like, oh wow, this is, and it was funny because it felt like those 6 hours, I'd really only just started scratching the surface of the actual game.
Yeah.
Because they do this cool thing where I guess they have like a sort of tutorial. They have the starting zones, but there's like this major story with the starting zone. Well, at least the one I did that guides you through to the sort of main area, which is where we're at now, which is like this main sort of city thing.
Yep.
And you really feel like it was a journey, and you made some kind of progress and stuff happened, and
that's neat.
Yeah, and that is kind of like Elder Scrolls.
We talked about video games this week.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling I remember overhearing a conversation you telling someone about your experience on The Witcher 3
Right.
and coming across the portal.
Yep.
And then days later, you told the same story again.
Yeah.
The
So
same portal, but in ESO.
yeah, and I didn't even
And I was like,
realize that.
oh my goodness.
I didn't even realize. Yeah, so in The Witcher, I was on some island and I was just walking along and I saw a lighthouse. I was like, oh, I'll just go to that lighthouse. No quest markers, nothing to know that there was anything there. And I walked in there. I was like, oh my god, there's a portal.
Yep.
And I went through the portal and there was this whole dungeon with like this little story, like
Its own story.
Yeah, this own story, this whole thing. And I came out of it feeling like, holy shit, I just had a crazy experience.
Yep.
I was playing. Yeah, so cut to a few weeks later. I was playing.
It was the
Elder
same
Scrolls.
week.
Was it? Was
Yeah.
it? Okay. Well,
It was this week.
yeah. Well, no, but it was weeks ago that I had that Witcher experience.
Was it?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That was like ages
I
ago.
don't remember it
But
like that,
I
but
was
okay.
I was just telling that like
Oh, okay.
last week.
Yeah.
But yeah, in Elder Scrolls, I was walking along and I found a cave, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go check out this cave." No quest markers, nothing.
Yep,
I was just
yep.
off wandering by myself, and I found at the bottom of this cave there was a chest,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna open up this chest," and there were portal came out of it,
Yeah.
and I went through the portal, and there was this whole dungeon that had its
own
own
story.
storyline.
Wait, there was a portal in the chest?
Yes, yes, and that was part of that was like. That sounds crazy, right? That sounds
This sounds
weird.
weird, yeah.
That sounds weird.
Uh-huh.
And there's dialogue in that dungeon where you're talking to the guy who set up that portal, and he's like, and you ask him like, why did you put a portal in the chest? He's like, well, I wanted to make sure nobody would enter it. And he's like, oh, I suppose I probably shouldn't have put it in a alluring chest that like adventurers might open.
Also, how is he going to get out? I'm just going to, oh no!
Yeah,
I'm in
yeah.
this chest now. I've locked myself
But
in.
that was a thing where it's like I was in this dungeon for like an hour or so,
Yeah.
about an hour, and went through all this like all this story, all this stuff happening, and came out at the end of it, finished that dungeon. I was like, yeah, man, I just experienced something. That was incredible.
That's funny, and it's the same thing.
It was the and I
But
didn't realize it was the exact same thing until Saveun mentioned it.
It's fascinating that that was a memorable experience, despite it being something you could basically experienced already.
Yeah. I didn't like click to that. I was just like,
I mean, Skyrim had the house that had a painting that you could enter.
did it?
Yeah. Do you remember that? So there's like they do these neat little like breaks from the main world
Yeah.
in interesting ways that make them quite memorable, or at least I thought so. But you don't remember the painting.
I don't. Maybe dude. It was so long ago. I played Skyrim.
There's a guy who gets stuck in his painting, and you meet his like painting assistant.
I feel like I
She's
remember.
standing next to the painting, and then she's like, I don't know where he's gone. And then you like enter the painting, and there's all these Yetis, and you've got paint thinner.
Yeah. This sounds familiar. Yeah.
and
It's just some weird, wacky like side story, and
Yeah.
But you come out of it going, man, that was an experience.
you go, that's crazy.
Yeah.
This game's great.
Yeah. This game is great. That's like
Yeah.
I said that both times.
Yeah.
Walked away from that going, this game is great.
Yeah. I guess when I look at that, I like the idea that was it ZeniMax or CD Projekt
Yeah.
is like, all right, designers come up with stories and
Yeah.
I like that part of it.
Come up
Like,
with these dungeons and just like create stories for them for their
Yeah.
interesting thing.
That's
or
cool.
Side areas.
and it amounts to having more content,
Yeah,
which is cool.
yeah.
I just don't. That seems like the cheapest way
Putting it
to
in a
go.
portal.
Yeah, to put it in the world
Yeah.
to me.
But it's an effective way. It's so but
It's
just because
very-
it's cheap doesn't mean it's bad. Like if you can do something that's both cheap and effective, that's great, right? That's quick
And do you
and
feel
effective
like?
game development.
Yeah, I guess my
Like-
question is how often do they use portals? Or portal-like things.
Well, I mean,
Ah.
in Witcher, like, dude, you're traveling through portals all the time, but it's not like, oh, here's another portal. Here's gonna be another crazy story and adventure. Here we go.
Oh man,
Yeah.
you know what game had a lot of portals?
Portal.
Answer's
Half-Life?
Portal.
Oh. Yeah, cheap. What a cheap game.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Samorost, shall we?
Sure.
So, if you haven't heard of Samorost, you may have heard of a game called Machinarium. Same developer, Amanita, I think is the developer name. And it's a point-and-click adventure game. Real weird. We were talking about weird games where you're a deer with a human face before. This is sort of on a similar This has a little more cohesiveness to it, and there's like a structure, and there's a storyline, and there's like a start and an end. But it's very strange. You're a little white elf, and one day a trumpet falls out of the sky and lands in your front yard, and you can hear things through the trumpet, and play what you've heard back to the thing that you heard it from to communicate with it.
Oh, weird.
So, for example, very early on, you like encounter like a giant plastic bottle, and then you use your trumpet, and it makes some noise. It's like, and
Wait, how do you know it's plastic?
because it just looks like a big plastic like it looks like a plastic bottle,
Okay.
like a piece of like a literal
not-
garbage
Okay.
bottle.
Okay.
And it when you listen to it, you play your song, and then it's like, it plays this animation where it's like, I'm a bottle, I'm trying to fly away, but I can't. But if only someone would cut me in half,
Oh my god.
then I would finally be able to fly away like I want to.
Oh.
And so then you go and murder a plastic bottle. It's so weird. Anyway, it's also like
It's all about recycling this game or something.
you know what?
Yeah.
It sort of is.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
It's a bizarre game, but it's really enjoyable as well because it's world has its sort of an internal logic, and it's just gorgeous looking. Like,
Oh
Saveun,
no, yeah,
you care about visuals.
yeah, it does look good.
I can't believe it. I found a game that you might actually like because it's pretty.
Oh, I wouldn't play it. It does look good.
Why not?
It's not my kind of game.
How do you know?
From what I've seen, I can judge.
It's
And
so
determine that-
pretty though.
Yeah, I could get that from screenshots or trailers.
All right.
I don't feel like I need to play that game.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying.
It's got some very neat puzzles in it as well. And it's got quite a few secrets that it doesn't really hint at. Sometimes it doesn't hint at all, and you have to sort of do a lot of experimentation to find it. Sometimes it's just like, oh, I did this thing because I was just wondering if I could do this thing, and it turns out I can, and now I feel really clever. Like, for example, very early on, in the same area as the suicidal bottle, for example, there's this golden deer-looking thing leaping from stone to stone in the background, and it seems sort of afraid of you. And you can climb this wall and hide in a cave, and when it leaps past you, you can then come out of the cave and jump on its back, and then you get to ride around on it for a little while as the little animation plays, and then you get to collect some logo of the deer thing.
Some logo. You get the logo.
Yeah, you these are all tied to Steam achievements.
Oh
and,
my God,
And like
yeah.
then on like the menu. Also, this game contains no words other than like the credits. Not
That's
even the title screen doesn't even have the game's name. There's no actual title. One thing that's really strange about this game though is that they go so far through the game without ever using any words, letters, or numbers. They just use symbols. So theoretically anybody anywhere should be able to play this game.
Yeah,
And
localization.
understand it. Yeah,
Pretty easy.
It's actually really clever and a great game design decision, except in this one part where you have to like plant plants, and then like all of a sudden when you use your trumpet to like listen to the plant or whatever, it uses like the letters A, B, and C to like try and display this idea, and it just made me
man.
think like you guys like got so close to doing a completely localization free like. You could give this to like a someone who can't even read, like a 4-year-old or something, and they should theoretically be able to play through the game.
Do you think
They
they're just
get
like
so close, and then it feels like they gave up on this one thing.
Yeah, do you think that they just really wanted to keep that puzzle in but couldn't figure out a way to
I wonder.
to convey what they wanted without using letters?
Maybe it's kind of it's a bummer because like
Because why does it have to be ABC? They could just use any symbol. Like they could just make up.
Yeah,
They could just make up letters, and then those are just the letters that represent whatever they're supposed to be matching.
Or even colors.
Or
Can they
colors,
just group it by color?
yeah. Well, no. I had been thinking about that as well. The way they do the art for these like little things that you listen to for trumpet reasons is it's all one color, sort of like sketchy and quite interesting looking.
Okay.
But so I don't know. I think it would have stuck out oddly if they had used color, but I don't know if it would have stuck out worse than them using letters. So it's a weird one. Like, that part stuck out as bad for me.
But I wonder if anybody else would have noticed it, because you're sitting there going, "Oh my god, this is amazing what they've done. They're using no words. This is incredible." And then
no words or letters.
Oh, they're using words or letters. I wonder if other people are just like, "Oh, this is a cool puzzle."
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they even, there's a section in the game which is functionally like a number you're trying to like line up these totems, and there's like sort of, they basically are using numbers, but they're not actually using numbers. They're using symbols that are representative of numbers.
Okay,
and you sort of figure that out by looking at these things, and it's kind of clever. And that one sticks out as like there was an obvious solution for people who understand like the numbers that we use. And they didn't use it there. But then there's this other part of the game where they're just like, yeah, ABC, done. Call it a day.
Weird. It seems, that does seem weird.
Still, I reckon that game it's kind of short. I think if you're just sitting down to play it, you'll do it in an evening, and you'll probably find everything there is to do in that game. And it's a little bit pricey for the price for
how much is it?
The length. I think we got it for like $30, something like that. Right. But it is gorgeous looking, and the soundtrack is by one of my favorite musicians. So I was very pleased.
Lady Gaga, she does that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Poker face.
Oh.
Yeah. I always thought you were a little monster.
But I reckon if you care about like it looks like you're playing through a picture book.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks really cool.
That's sort of a feat in itself, and that's why I always like their games, is because they're just
How many games have they put out? Because I only know of Machinarium.
So Samorost was like an art project, I think, that this guy did in like the earlier mid 2000s.
Right.
And then he did Samorost 2 as a game that was sold. Then Machinarium. Then Botanicula.
Oh, okay.
Like
yeah.
That's the only one I haven't played. They also did like a web game.
Okay.
For the BBC, and then Samorost 3. I think that's all of them. They've done some like music videos and stuff as well.
Right.
But yeah, game wise, I think that they've only done these. Still, I reckon it's worth checking out if you care about visuals, especially because it's just gorgeous looking.
Yeah, it really is.
The world also just looks and feels very alive, despite the fact that it looks like a drawing. You can interact with so much of it, and so much of it just sort of moves organically. It's just an amazing feat.
I like that there are these good short games these days.
Yeah, and they come from these sort of strange studios. This one's, I think, I want to say Poland, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, like Firewatch.
Yeah, like Firewatch.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Firewatch, yeah.
I still think about Firewatch.
Yeah, same here.
There are many games that I still think about.
That bloody walking simulator.
Yeah, that walking simulator.
I really enjoyed Firewatch, but I still get frustrated by the fact that they didn't do the thing I wanted them to do.
What was it? They wanted to you wanted to get a shotgun.
Yeah, no.
Flamethrower.
So you remember, it starts off like you play through the first few days.
Oh,
and, like,
you wanted to leap over logs.
I remember.
Day 7, you're still kind of new to the forest, and then suddenly it skips to like day 70 something, right? And at that point, you've been in there for like 2 months.
Yeah.
You should be able to like hop over logs. You should be able to jog through the forest. You've been living out in the woods. You're a woodsman now. You should be in better shape, and you should be able to navigate like a parkour master. Right? You should know the environment very well by that point.
Yeah,
but it feels very clumsy still, and it feels like there's no sense of progress there.
Yeah, and it especially is when because you backtrack kind of a bit.
There's a lot of backtracking.
And so backtracking
sucks.
Yeah, and so if you can speed that up and have it make sense in the story, that's great.
It just would have cemented the character growth so beautifully.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wait. You said backtracking sucks.
Yeah.
How does the ESO deal with that in your dungeons? Is it a linear dungeon?
We saw him teleport.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, the portal at the end, of course.
Bethesda has always done this really good thing that I don't remember it in Morrowind. It might have been there, but I definitely remember seeing it in Oblivion. Was that you go through this massive dungeon? Say you're in a dungeon for like 40 minutes or something, and you get to the end and you fight the thing or whatever, and there's some treasure, and you're like, okay, cool. You don't want to backtrack all the way through an empty dungeon just to get to the end. There's almost always some sort of back door somewhere.
Yeah, in Oblivion and Skyrim, I think it was more so in Skyrim than Oblivion even. The dungeons are designed in such a way that you loop back around just by virtue of exploring the dungeon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and that actually did happen in the dungeons that I was in Thing, was that
Back doors.
I even in one, I remember walking in one and seeing this huge door that I couldn't open and being like, I bet when I'm done with this dungeon, I'm going to walk through that door and like be right at the start again, and guaranteed that's exactly what
So
happened.
it's a huge loop. You go around this loop.
Yeah. You just go all the way around, and then you suddenly realize where you are, and then you fight the final thing, and then you realize,
Oh man.
Once you realize it sort of takes away from some of the magic because they do it very consistently, especially in Skyrim.
Yeah.
Tell you what, I like how shooters do that. They'll get you to walk through a course.
Yeah.
It'll be calm, but you can actually look through the environment. You can see good cover points.
Right.
Yeah.
And then something happens, and then you're playing it backwards. That's a good. I think that's a good way to
That's interesting.
do shooters. Just
That would
because
be
you can
that would be cool for. I don't think there are many dungeons in any game that kind of you go through the dungeon first that's completely unpopulated, and then you get to the end, you grab the fucking amulet or whatever, and then suddenly it's all populated with skeletons and you got to fight your way back. I don't see that many times.
It doesn't really work in those sorts of games very well because there's usually like
cover's not a thing.
a way to teleport out.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, that's not going to work in like something like our game because
because you just
you reached
portal
the
scroll.
end.
See ya.
Yeah, back to town.
Yep. And that's actually sort of the problem that those games face. When you give them some player too much freedom, it's hard to challenge them in that way.
It would work in The Witcher because you can't fast travel without going to certain spots.
Oblivion and Skyrim both have great fast travel systems where once you've discovered a location on the map, you can just click on it and go there.
It's like a bonfire or something. Like a certain area that you can.
No, it's just it's anything. You can go to the map.
Any landmark, and it will pass the time as though you had run there.
Okay.
I don't like I know why fast travel is in a game, and I understand it, but I never use it.
Yeah, I don't use it that much either, unless I'm like hardcore questing.
In any game, you never use fast travel.
I'll hardly ever use it. Like in The Witcher, I will horse across a map instead of fast traveling. Because it's just I'm just immersed in the world.
Yeah, that is something cool about video games.
It's like GTA. Would you rather drive from point A to point B and get into crazy shenanigans along the way, or would you just like fast travel there?
I remember in 4 you could get into a taxi and then just sit through it and look out the window. And I remember trying to do that, and I was like, "This driver sucks."
Oh fuck!
Never skip.
Dude, there was
he's running up the meter so bad.
Actually, the only game where I fast traveled all the time was LA Noire.
Oh yeah,
because like the city was just so boring to drive through, and by the time I got there, I was like, "Why was I here again?"
Oh yeah, yep. Being a detective.
Yeah.
I
also want to talk about Hearthstone,
right?
Real quick,
right?
Because last time I talked about how I was a bit worried about the set.
Yep, and you saw the rabbit guy.
Yeah, I also saw the rabbit guy.
Yep,
Vermin as they're called.
The rabbit guy.
Yeah,
his name's Vermin.
That's the
Vernon.
race of...
He's Vernon.
Vernon.
Vernon the Vermin.
Oh
yeah. Since then, they revealed basically the other two.
Oh yeah.
Factions. We'd only really seen a little bit of one faction back then. It had only really just been revealed, and that faction was all about basically scaling the cards in your hand up. And I was a bit worried because it's like, well, they've done some sort of cards in hand mechanics before. I think the biggest issue with the current set is how they've communicated it.
Oh yeah,
because there's actually some really cool mechanics.
Oh,
and there's this potential. Like one of my hopes / criticisms was like, will this be a year and a half from now? Will we look back and go, you could only have this deck during this era? And I think there will be some decks that you could only have during this set. Now that we've seen what they're actually doing with the other with their 3 factions. When they first showed off the game, they're like, yeah, there's these 3 factions, and they have like cross-class cards. Only these 3 classes can use these cards, and there's 9 cards like that. And I'm like, well, there's like 130 cards in the set, and only 9 cards do the special thing of the set. That sounds dumb. But in reality, it's like these are the indicators for what the mechanics are for those 3 classes for this set. And the 3 mechanics are, they're like, you build up cards in hand, which is interesting because there are cards that interact in interesting ways with that. And even across the 3 classes that use that mechanic, they do it in different ways. Paladins, for example, build up almost all the minion cards in their hand. Warriors build up a specific one, but is either like a taunt one grows big, or like one random one gets a bunch of points. And Hunters, I think, is a random one gets a bunch of points, but it's a little bit different for some numbers. I can't even remember. It's different in some slight way. There's a whole other faction that does stuff based on if you have no duplicate copies of something in your hand.
Oh wow!
Or in your deck rather.
Yeah.
So it's like Reno Jackson is a card that heals you to full if you've got no duplicate cards in your deck. So it's about filling your deck with singletons.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that's for like mage, warlock, and priest. And then for rogue, druid, and shaman. Yeah, rogue, druid, and shaman. Remember we were talking about there's no real sensible reason these 3 classes are together. That's still the case. However, they have this mechanic called like their faction's the Jade Lotus, and their mechanic is they have cards that when they do a thing, they play a Jade Golem on the battlefield. And a Jade Golem is basically a 1/1.
Okay.
The first time you play it.
Oh.
And then the second Jade Golem's a 2/2.
Uh-oh.
Third Jade Golem's 3/3. And so the more Jade Golems you play, the more effective each subsequent Jade Golem will be.
And is there a like theoretical limit to how many times you can play it?
Someone, I think Daniel was talking about this. He said there's like definitely a 30-30 possibility. And so when you look at like the styles of deck that are doing this, Shaman is about sort of filling the board with totems. So you can see some analogies with the Jade Golems. You're filling the board with these little Jade Golem tokens. Druid has token style decks already, and Rogue has a lot of interactions with like pulling things from the board and placing them again with Shadow Step. So you can see that anything that's like Battlecry place Jade Golem on the board is going to be quite good in Rogue.
Yeah.
So you can now see there's sort of a connection there. The problem is they reserved all these mechanics. Like they never communicated this when they announced the set, right? It was just like there's these class cards.
No, they were
class cards.
They were more excited about the setting, I think. That was what they were putting across, I think.
And I think that was a really, really huge mistake because you can explain the cool things about the set without revealing the specifics. If they had said there's the 3 classes of warrior, paladin, and hunter are about playing things that will improve the things you haven't played yet. If you the druid, rogue, and shaman are about playing things that are built upon the things you've already played.
Right.
And mage, priest, and warlock are about playing as many things as possible. Like that tells you immediately, there are different archetypes.
Yeah.
And that's a cool concept. Like I now understand there's going to be some interesting mechanics that make these 3 classes, these 3 subsets of classes feel very different for the set. But instead they're like, yeah, you're in Gadgetzan, and there's these 3 crime families, and they share some cards across the classes.
And it's like, you know how Gadgetzan is this little tiny outpost? Well, guess what? It's not. It's a giant city.
You just don't get to see any of it because it doesn't actually
Wouldn't
exist
that be cool in World of Warcraft? Well, it's happening in Hearthstone.
Yep. So I think that the biggest problem with this upcoming set was how they communicated it. I'm actually really excited. I think this has more potential than like Whispers of the Old Gods did.
Right.
Because Whispers of the Old Gods really just had like the gods as the mechanical defining feature, and that's only 4 cards, and then I guess for the Cthulhu decks, the cards that support Cthulhu. This actually has like actual interesting deck defining mechanics. So I'm excited. They should have just said that from the start.
Maybe that was just. Maybe the thing is that was just too hard a thing to sort of convey. Well, I guess like
it's not though. Like I said it in 3 sentences.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you would need. I think you would need that as because they announced it at BlizzCon.
Yeah,
that explanation of it should have been at the Hearthstone panel, like getting up on stage in front of all those people to at the keynote or whatever, where they first announced it might be a little difficult to get across to
I don't know,
mass crowd.
I mean, there's probably a lot of Hearthstone fans.
Yeah, well, there definitely
that's
would be.
That's the place
you're
you're doing it. And on top of that, like when they announced, like I remember when they announced, I was at BlizzCon when they announced the Demon Hunter for Diablo.
Oh wow.
And they said the Demon Hunter is about balancing blah 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 these two resources and
and I suppose
it's about
hard to get across.
Getting up in range and movement, and it's like well that sounds cool. Like I wasn't like a Diablo fan when.
But you understood now what that class was about.
I was familiar enough with games as a concept that I knew. Oh, this is interesting play implications.
Yeah,
like anybody who has any passing interest in games will understand. This involves 3 different play styles, and that's what they should have focused on.
Well, hopefully they learn then to not just focus on the cool setting. Setting is kind of cool. I quite like it.
It's fine. Yeah, sure.
I'd like it if it was actually in World of Warcraft.
Yeah,
that's kind of like what I think is cool about it.
It's not. The problem is this isn't a setting that you get to explore because it's a card game.
Yeah, that's the problem.
You don't get to go. Oh, I'm gonna play this card and check out their mansion.
Yeah,
For the Grime Street gang's got some cool dudes. Let's go. Like it's just like okay, I played this and now my dude's bigger. And Grime Street, yay! It
is like
they just focused on a weird thing for this.
Yeah,
they missed the point. I think. I wonder how much of this was like maybe their PR not actually understanding the game that well.
Maybe
they were like, no one's gonna care about the mechanics. Talk about how there's gang bosses. There's crime.
Talk about this cool city that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Talk about how there's a bank vault.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talk about this rabbit guy.
You make sure that rabbit guy.
Make sure you get that rabbit guy in there.
You know that race that no one can play as? Make sure that's front and
that's
center.
Not even really. It's in the game, but it's not even how it looks in the Hearthstone thing.
In the Pandaren location that nobody really likes that much.
And they're like little kobold dudes in the game. They're not like actual rabbit guys like how it shows in that Hearthstone.
Yeah, they're not.
They're just like
little.
They're called vermin because they're fucking dumb vermin. They're not like a smart thief that's just stolen from.
Yeah, they're not portrayed as like a cohesive society with leaders and they're just the things you kill 10 of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the thing you kill 10 of. Yeah.
All right. Do you guys want to talk about anything else?
I had one thing.
Oh, yep.
And this is the Red Dead minute.
Oh yeah.
No, but it's
1 minute. Go.
It comes off the back of Ryan in the last episode.
Yeah,
brought up the dog scene, the vulture thing.
Right.
And he was saying this is probably a one-off thing.
Is this the start of Saveun and Ryan feud?
No. This is me speculating about more Red Dead stuff.
Okay. Also, listeners should know that Ryan is a programmer that we work with.
Oh, he's not.
No, not really a programmer, says Saveun.
So
barely a human, says Saveun.
Just something you kill 10 of, says Saveun.
All right, so about Red Dead
Yep.
and the vultures, I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have a mechanic? And it's just wishful thinking right now and speculating.
Yep.
But wouldn't it be cool if there was some kind of permanence to the actual dead things the animals that you kill in the map?
Right.
So in another scene, you actually see a guy who's got a deer on the back of his horse.
Yeah.
Imagine if you can kill a thing and use it as bait to attract another thing. Or, you just let the carcass rot and then it attracts vultures or something.
That'd be cool, yeah.
So I think that's actually a very interesting thing that have happened. And I think that's probably what they're showing off.
So
I'm not sure if that's going to be a thing.
There's been no indication of that.
I know.
This is equivalent to saying, it'd be cool if in World of Warcraft you could like build your own weapon,
dude. They've
from
only
like other weapons. It's like a super weapon,
Yeah.
and then it turns into a gun,
Mhm.
and then
You better be careful. I mean, we remember what happened with No Man's Sky about talking
yeah.
about stuff that's not in the game.
yeah.
Yeah.
If I wonder if like if anyone from Rockstar is here, they'd be like, yeah,
You could
Okay,
do that.
yeah.
I mean, it's a big world. Who knows?
they're gonna Molly knew it.
Yeah. But yeah, no, that dude. I agree. Like, if there was ever a game that had something like that, that'd be seriously
it
cool.
really is just speculation.
Yeah.
It's speculation.
Yeah.
That something.
Would you want it to so that like let's say you killed a wolf
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't touch the wolf's corpse
Mm-hmm.
and you came back, some time has passed and the wolf's corpse is not just still there but in a state of decay.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Okay, now, would you like it if in this game you could kill enough animals that you ruin the ecosystem?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I would like this game.
That was talked about in No Man's Sky as well.
Was it really?
Yep, you could theoretically kill every animal on the planet, and then you'd ruin the ecosystem. Because the carnivores feed off the herbivores.
Right.
And,
The problem is, at that point, all you've done is made a static world. Like, oh, cool, there's no animals anymore.
Yeah.
I guess there goes that detail.
Yep.
I think there's... I don't think we're at a point where games can successfully simulate a real ecosystem.
Yeah, okay.
But you don't have to simulate it. You just need to have, as part of its the corpse lying there, it just has a few phases of decay,
Yep.
and then it spawns some vultures, or some whatever.
Yep.
And then eventually it will just disappear, and you can have
Yeah, it's basically a marker with a timer on it, a timestamp pretty much, and you can just do whatever with that timestamp.
yeah.
But you have to start thinking about stuff like, okay, what happens if the player decides to make a pile of corpses?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just
More locators.
They keep dragging the wolves to this location.
Mm-hmm.
Does it become that like at every point, at every 1 week in point, vultures arrive?
Mm-hmm.
Are there now 400
It's like,
vultures
here's
in
the
this
swarm.
one location?
The swarm's coming.
Yeah, like
They're after the death pile.
That'd be cool.
okay, so is there just a
And then you
limited
kill them,
And then
then
the
they
vulture
pile up.
population like
unlimited
skyrockets.
number of vultures in this game? Like
Yeah.
It depends, man. That would increase vulture numbers, possibly.
So then
Which would be cool.
you're implying that there is a vulture life cycle.
Maybe.
That means there has to be locations for vulture nests.
Maybe. But you do you need to see that? You don't need
Yes,
it.
you totally need to see that.
Not all of them, but if you came across them randomly, it would suggest that. So you don't actually
So
have
let's
to...
say you can't. Let's say you scare the vultures away.
all the vultures.
All
the
the
entire
4,000
map.
vultures
Yeah.
that you have.
You are on horseback.
Lightning strikes.
You
Yeah.
are on horseback. You ride over to the wolves.
Yep.
These rotting wolves.
Mm-hmm.
The vultures fly away.
Mhm.
You follow a flying vulture.
Okay.
Where does it go?
Yeah, it goes. It goes somewhere. You're chasing
Yes,
it.
it does go somewhere. Now it's got, but it has to go somewhere, right? Either
You're
it pops
saying
out of the sky,
my
or it
horse
has to
can
have
travel-
a nest. Then at
my-
that point, there needs to be enough nesting locations that all of the escaped vultures can land somewhere.
Sure. But you only need to deal with the ones that are
Dead's
rendered.
sounding great. I can't believe all this is happening. Yeah.
Nick, what I'm saying is you don't have to actually deal with every vulture. You just have to show that vultures go out of the screen and imply that.
So, but your
They
camera
go out
can
of it.
move.
Sure, but
You have to ensure
Is-
that the vulture moves faster than
Than the
you.
horse.
Yeah, and then eventually gets so fast it just fades away, and then it's actually just despawned. And then as a player, you're just like, I lost track of it.
yeah. Well, they can fly.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
So if
So
there
then
was
you
a
don't
cliff,
have, then you don't have to have it go to a
So at
nest.
this point, there isn't a location where the vultures come from. They are just
it just
they're
off screen.
They're
Yeah.
just spawned based on wolf corpses.
Sure,
So
But you
could
can have
you could have an unlimited number of vultures.
sure.
What would David Attenborough say to you right now?
Come on, man.
dude. But piling up corpses has been a thing in
Oh, yeah.
many video games.
Absolutely.
I watched. There was a Hitman video that maybe I'll link as well because it's pretty great. It's titled "There's a Problem with a Toilet," and it's the hitman in a hotel room, and he picks up a phone and he says, "There's a problem with the toilet," and he puts the phone down, and then a guy comes after a few minutes to be like, "Oh, I'm here to fix your toilet." He opens the door and there's 50 corpses of staff employees who have come to fix this toilet, and he strangles and kills him, throws him in there, shuts the door, goes up
Calls
to the
the
phone,
phone.
goes to the phone and says, "There's a problem with the toilet." And then just puts it down.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, so good.
So it just needs to do something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's fun.
Yeah.
I love game logic like that.
Oh, dude, it's so good. Like, I mean, we're talking about Hitman, but
Yeah.
I mean, it really embraces that.
Yeah.
Hitman.
Awesome. All right.
Skyrim does as well with their like hoarding. Skyrim hoarders.
Oh yes.
Yeah, where you can just have a room filled with junk.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember you. There's a video of someone who picked up every weapon they found in Skyrim and put it in their
Oh my
house in
God.
Whiterun,
Yeah.
and then like got married, and you can see the wife trying to slowly trudge through, like it's up to her waist, and so she's like sort of like,
in swords too.
Yeah.
You would be
Yeah,
stabbed to death. You would be dead.
but they just sort of like their swords just roll off of each other, and she's just slowly cutting a path through them.
Yeah, and cutting a path through herself as well.
Yeah.
With the swords.
There's also like when people figure out how to duplicate stuff in Oblivion,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they would go to like the Ivory Tower, and they'd start at the top and they'd duplicate watermelons, and then there would just be like a water full of
Yeah.
watermelons filling up
Right.
the room below, where there's like all these seeds. Like the most important people in Oblivion are just like getting buried in watermelons.
But it's also great because like the reactions of the NPCs are non-reactions,
No.
but that makes it more hilarious.
They might have like a flinch animation,
Yeah.
where they like,
but
when
still,
something
like they'll
impacts
be
them.
covered in like watermelons,
Yeah.
and you'll walk up to them and be like, "Hey there." Like-
yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I heard someone, the hero of Kvatch is like,
You're surrounded by a million
they're neck
watermelons.
deep in
Yeah.
watermelons.
it's like- I used to be an adventurer like you.
Until I got swallowed by a watermelon ocean. All right, we're out of time. If you have,
You didn't want to talk about the big fan, mate?
oh, we got a huge email from a user. We're just gonna call them V because that's how they call themselves. Tons of comments, really good email. We probably won't read it out just because it's hugely long.
Yeah, but we'll get back to the guy.
Yeah.
Via email.
Saveun will give you the answer to the
The book.
Walt Disney audiobook biography.
Mhm.
But we really appreciate that email. We love hearing from our fans. We're just actually we'll answer one question because there's a very short question email. It just says, question for the podcast: what's GGG's plan for staying relevant after people find out a game like Initium exists? When our episodes are short, please do 2 hours from now on. We're
Right.
probably not going to do 2 hours.
We're at the 1 hour episode. This is the halfway mark.
That's from R. We looked at Initium briefly.
We think we're doing.
I think we're okay to stay relevant.
Yeah.
So Initium, feel free to Google it if you're listening. It's sort of like a browser-based text
MMO, text-based
text-
MMO.
Yeah, it looks like an MUD, like a multi-user dungeon.
Yeah, I mean, I think it says
There's-
mud on it.
There's probably depth there. I wouldn't be
Mm.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a deep game there, but it's also the sort of game where there's a huge barrier of entry, which is embracing how much waiting and text there is.
Mm.
For example, Blake was in a tavern, I think. and
Yeah.
he had
Well,
the
it said I was in a tavern.
Yeah, and he explored the tavern, and then it showed a little like pixelated guy walking down a hallway, saying you're looking for things of interest, and then I don't really know what happened.
There was no things of interest.
Yeah, but you had to watch that animation for that to happen.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know why, because it's not like it can't have been loading
Yeah,
anything. That was probably just the animation playing. Like
this is I suspect it's just sort of like a cooldown mechanic, right? You don't want to let players
sure
spam
constantly
the search,
be tapping. Yeah.
so you give them a 3 or 5 second animation. I personally I played some MUDs back in the day. They weren't for me. I found it too difficult to get a sense of the world.
Right.
It's hard to figure out where like your place geographically.
Yep.
When you are basically following descriptions, and it's like, to the north there is the forest of blah blah blah. To the east, a dark tunnel lays ahead. There is nothing to the south and west. And you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll go to the forest. There's more forest to the north, east, and south. Okay, I'll just keep going north. There's more forest. There's a rabbit here.
That's why you have a piece of paper and a pencil.
Yeah,
and draw it out.
Back in the 80s when this was the only way you could do it.
Yeah.
That's what people did, and that's cool. I don't know that we need to worry about staying relevant in a world where there's a 20-year-old game format that also is apparently still relevant.
Yeah, I think the thing is, it's like we didn't even scratch the surface.
No,
we just smudged some dust off the surface, and that's
we went.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, there's something here.
Yeah, yep.
It looks too big.
There's a lot of dust underneath that, but it's still something.
So it's probably like a huge, vast like game that you could really get invested in if you wanted to.
Or if you're listening, feel free to email us. Tell us what you like about an idiom. We'd be curious to know. I think that Saveun wants to say something.
Oh, you thought right. I think we're doing different things.
Yeah, it's a different game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not an ARPG. It's a much slower, more like a traditional role playing game, like a pen and paper style than anything else.
And I think Path of Exile is doing okay. Yeah. And also there's work to be done. Like we work there.
Yep.
We know there's some stuff coming.
Yep. We got cool content on the way.
Mm-hmm. So we're always moving forward.
Yep.
Yeah. And talking about cool content on the way.
How's that tile set?
Oh man. It's fantastic.
Are you able to close that one issue down and move on to the next one issue?
Nope. Not for another year, probably. No, but cool content coming for the podcast.
Oh.
So last time we put it out there that we were thinking of doing a
you want to
YouTube
talk about
series.
this on
Are we
the podcast?
ambushing Saveun again?
Well,
Yeah.
this is another call because we had two people come back and say that they want to see that, but we're hoping for some bigger.
That would double the views on most of the YouTube
that,
videos
that,
we've got.
That
on our
would
channel.
actually. That would. But I think Saveun has a goal in his head of like how many people we need to pressure him into doing.
What's that number?
No, well, I'm not going to say, but
This is 3.
I think we're gonna throw around the idea.
Yeah.
The year's wrapping up.
Yeah, well, it's not going to happen this year for sure.
Yeah.
I would like to see Saveun play Samorost 3. Actually.
Oh, yeah?
I want to see what you think of that game. I think
Nick,
you'll love it for a little bit, and then you're gonna hate it.
Thing that listeners don't know is Nick's all for waterboarding, and so
Well, they know that. I love waterboarding. Everyone knows that.
so yeah, he wants to see me play these very bad. That's not cool, Nick. Don't do that. I would not wish that on you. But like, I'm open to the idea. It's just it's a thing of time.
Oh, for sure.
And
like we're not gonna like pressure you. You know, we're not gonna be like you have to do it now kind of thing. We'll sort it out whenever.
Yeah, we'll give you like an hour of a window of an
Yeah.
hour.
Oh, thanks, Nick.
But yeah, we would really like listeners to write in and really show their support for
Yes.
Saveun.
Also, recommend some games.
Recommend some games. Oh yeah, someone did write in and recommended
Watch
Watch
Dogs.
Dogs. I think is brilliant
Watch
because
Dogs is good.
I'm so sure you've said in the past that you didn't think it looked very good.
Dude 2 just came out.
Yep.
And yeah, it's complete garbage. I can't believe.
Can't wait for him to play it.
Yep.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's yeah. Okay.
And just for like first time listeners or whatever who might not know what we're talking about, Saveun is known for disliking games that widely
Receive wide critical acclaim.
wide critical acclaim
and popular acclaim sometimes.
Yeah.
And it basically is like, oh, did you hear about The Witcher 3? I heard that game's not that good.
Yep. And so the YouTube series is called I Hear It's Not Very Good, and it's going to be Saveun playing critically acclaimed games.
Wait, but it's mainly me ragging on Ubisoft games.
That's fine. Like it's fine.
All right.
And CD Projekt Red.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. If you have a game you'd like to see Saveun play / you'd like to just email us a question, our email address is frontseatquestions@gmail.com. You can tweet at us at FrontSeatCast. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/FrontSeatCast. We have a WordPress site, frontseatgamer.wordpress.com. You can talk to us in there as well. Feel free to rate us on iTunes. Have we had any ratings? I don't know.
People have said they've rated us, but from what I remember, you can't actually see ratings until you've got a certain amount of ratings. Some weird thing like that.
Mm-hmm. Sounds
Cool.
about right.
But one rating does show up from your buddy Andy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I saw that one too.
Yeah.
And we've also had some people email us and tell us that they've told their friends about the podcast, which is great.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We love that you guys do that. So keep it up.
Our YouTube got a few more followers.
What?
We're over 20 followers now on our
Whoa.
YouTube.
Get out of here.
Practically
Jeez,
doubled.
That's cool. Well,
At 100, I think we get our own URL.
really?
Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
So
Well,
we're
We're
on the way.
1/5 the way there. Yeah. We'll be back in a couple weeks. I think we're gonna. Well, I think we've got one more episode for the year.
I'm not sure.
Of a standard
Oh, big
variety.
50, huh?
Yeah, we got big. We might
Ooh.
end on big 50, but we've also got over the holiday break. We have planned a D&D.
Yeah, we might be doing
Series.
something special.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that next week, probably,
Sure.
or next episode.
Yep.
Cool. We'll see you then.
All right.
Soup.
Bye.
Is this the dinosaurs versus space?
Oh yeah, actually I do remember that one. Yeah.
Or is this the
What a man. Okay.
what? What?
I don't know how space could be cool.
How could space not be cooler? It's zero gravity.
Actually...
Okay, here's how you know it's cooler. People who live on like space stations for like a year and a half say, "I never get tired of looking out the window." And then you look at like the most recent Jurassic Park movie was about people getting bored of dinosaurs and them having to make a new one.
Okay.
The scenery.
I have the perfect answer.
They get bored even in fiction.
No, I have the perfect answer. All right.
Yeah.
A space station,
What dinosaurs?
Jurassic theme park.
Oh, shit.
Zero G dinosaurs.
Yep, zero G dinosaurs.
That sounds like a good video game, right? It's like
Dino Crisis.
space
Crisis.
Dino Crisis in space. Yeah, like or really dead space.
Really fossil space.
Prehistoric. Yeah.
Man, I can't remember if I showed you guys that one where the BlackBerry spokesman is just sticking to the script no matter what. Yeah. Oh,
Are we being recorded?
Yeah.
Okay. We should probably talk towards the microphone.
It's like, we're really excited. We're pushing the frontiers.
Yep.
Everything, and they're like,
But where did BlackBerry go
where
wrong?
did BlackBerry go wrong? We're really excited. We're pushing the frontiers.
Oh man, yeah.
He was like asked that 3 times this
Yeah,
morning.
and every time you just like, look, we're really excited. We're pushing the frontiers. Oh my god.
That was horrible to watch.
Yeah.
That was so cringy.
But he's doing what he was told. He was probably told to stick to the script.
Yeah.
Stay on script.
It also, he probably just didn't have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
Like,
He's probably just.
On
How would you
fly.
have answered that?
You get, I don't know.
Where did BlackBerry go wrong without tarnishing the BlackBerry name?
right. So
I
you
have
just
no
gotta
idea.
keep. They're really excited. I mean,
Yeah.
new frontiers.
New frontiers. Look, we're
Pushing
pushing the
them.
boundaries, man.
Yeah.
There's the if there's a frontier, we're gonna push it.
We're pushing it.
Yeah.
And if it's
We don't care if
new,
it pushes back.
look out.
Oh shit.
We're
But
coming for you,
where
asshole.
did BlackBerry go wrong?
So we're so excited. I cannot emphasize how excited we are. If I see a new frontier, I will push it. I will push it to the ground.
But where did BlackBerry go wrong?
Yeah.
Is that a new frontier? Give me something. I'm gonna push that shit.
So there's been a lot of talk about BlackBerry going wrong. What's your take on that? About where BlackBerry went wrong?
I feel excited. I feel really excited. I feel like pushing something, like a new something, like the front ear, like one of these.
Boundary.
But like if there was like an ear here,
Yeah.
I'd push it. And if it's new, definitely push it.
Right. So it sounds pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to
Looking-
seeing those
look-
frontiers.